So resilience has become a bit of a buzzword, and there is the potential for it to be used negatively by kind of implying that shutting up and getting on with it is what's valued. I would imagine there are lots of bad managers out there who are very happy to use the idea of resilience to turn things on their heads and make you the problem when they give you bad news and they tell you that you need to develop your resilience to deal with it. Now, whilst there is this potential for bad practice, actually building your personal resilience is really good both for yourself and for your team. So hi, I'm Katherine at Life in the Third Lane, the channel for charity and non-profit leaders. If you enjoy this content, then please do like, share and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. It'd be great if you could share this with anyone that you think might also enjoy it. I'd love to hear from you, so please do leave your thoughts, comments or questions in the comments section below. Let's start by defining resilience. So the Oxford Dictionary defines resilience as the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties. And I particularly like this because it calls out the recovering quickly element. It's not saying that to be resilient you have to have no response to things, that you're not allowed to have an emotional reaction. You absolutely are. But it is really important to look at how quickly you can recover from those and start to move forward. It's especially important for leaders because not only will you be having to navigate difficult waters for yourself, but you're going to be trying to keep afloat your team and keep them all swimming in the same and the right direction. It's important to remember though that resilience isn't infinite. Everyone has a certain capacity for dealing with adversity. And once that capacity is full, then anything can tip you over the edge. Hence, the straw that breaks the camel's back. But it's important to recognise that resilience isn't in separate buckets when it comes to work and home. So you don't have a bucket of resilience for work and a bucket of resilience for home. So if things are bad at home, you'll find your work resilience is lower. If things are bad at work, you might find that your resilience at home is worse. So it is across your whole life. You don't have kind of this compartmentalisation of your resilience. I really like this definition of resilience from Anne Marston, who defines it as the capacity of a system, and I'd say that's interchangeable with a person, to adapt successfully to significant challenges that threaten its function, viability or development. I think that's particularly helpful because it defines that difference between people who are working really hard and have a high workload and people who are resilient, because I think those can get a bit confused. So you can be really, really busy and you can have a really high workload, but actually it's not really challenging your ability to function well or to do your job or to just generally live well. So actually it's not really creating a situation of adversity. So you're not having to delve into your resilience capacity to deal with that. You just have a high workload. Whereas for other people, that might be something that really impacts on their ability to function well. So therefore it does represent a level of adversity. So it's important to understand that what impacts on your ability to function is going to be different for each individual. And that means that the things that you need to be resilient to also change by the individual. So it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. I'm going to take you through some tools that could help you to build your own resilience. And some research from George Everly showed that when leaders demonstrate resilience, then there's more chance that then their teams will start to also demonstrate those resilient behaviours. So if you can build your own, then actually it's going to have positive impacts for both you and your team. The first thing to look at is building your general capacity. So think about how full your resilience bucket is every day. If you are going to your absolute max every single day and you've got nothing left to give, and that's just the day-to-day normal situations, when something bad happens, you're going to have nothing. You're going to have no kind of capacity to absorb any of that. So you need to think about how you build in capacity to your own resilience all of the time so that you've got it there when the unexpected happens. Because by the time something bad happens, it's too late to start thinking about, oh, well, I need to now look after myself. So you really need to think about how you make sure that you've got that additional capacity there and you're not using it, that actually you're comfortable and coping all the time when things are normal. So that when things do go wrong, you've got that ability to cope. So have a think about what might help to build your own resilience. Actually, if you're going to complete burnout all the time, what would make a difference for you? everything's completely individual. What works for one person won't work for someone else. So for you, it might be going out for 15 minutes at lunchtime every day just makes a huge difference to you. You love getting some fresh air, you need to get away from screens, that really helps, it helps to center you, and actually that's all you need. It might be as simple as a coffee with a friend every week where you get to download what's going on, or just talk about stuff that is positive and doesn't take up any of your headspace. It's kind of mindless thinking, which is always nice. But for other people, it'll be something completely different. It might be gaming, it could be anything. So you'll know what for you gives you that space and helps you to recharge a bit. So try to build that into your life all the time. Don't wait for things to be difficult before you start to build it in, because by that point it'll be too late. There are also some tools that you can use when things do go wrong and when the adversity hits. So the first I would say is to not make things personal. So we have a tendency as humans to not only assume that we have more impact on things than we really do and to blame ourselves, but to then believe that we can control a lot more than we really can. So there's a really helpful tool which is widely used, the circles of control, and you've basically got a circle of control, which is the things that sit inside that you have complete control over. You can do them, you can directly impact them. Then you've got your circle of influence. Now personally, I find this challenging, the circle of influence, because it implies you've got the ability to change it, but you can't directly change it. So you might find that you spend a lot of time trying to influence something and then actually you aren't able to. I also think we tend to overestimate our ability to influence things. So anything that doesn't fit in either of those two circles is basically you have no ability to influence or change it. So you really need to not waste any of your effort or energy in those spaces. So imagine that you've been getting this grant, which has been your most regular grant source for the last 10 years. Every 2 years you've applied for this grant, you've got it, you've kind of come to rely on it, and this year you applied for it and you didn't get it. And that was because the funder had slightly changed their criteria and yours was no longer that close a fit to what they were looking for. Now you might jump straight into blaming yourself, saying that your grant application wasn't good enough or that you didn't spend enough time stewarding that funder, but actually it's completely outside of your control that they changed their criteria. And spending time thinking what if I did this wrong, it's just using up all of your energy and it's not going to make any difference to the outcome. Likewise is any anger you have about the fact that they've changed it. Again, there is no point. It's wasted emotion, it's wasted energy, and it can be really exhausting to try and constantly change things that you've got no power to change. What's much more effective is to go, actually, what is within my circle of control? What can I do that is going to make an actual difference? So that might be saying, well, actually, we're going to spend more of our time stewarding our funders for other grants to make it a better chance that we're going to secure one of those. We are going to spend more time looking for different grants and sharing out where we're applying more widely so that we've got less reliance on one significant funder. It might be that you're going to spend more time and more focus and move some of your more funding towards paying for more fundraising activities so that you can bring in money through different routes. Or it might be that you focus your attention on going, actually, where are we going to cut back and how are we going to plan for not having that income? All of those things are positive actions that you can take that are within your control to do something about. So that can feel much more positive and it can really help you to demonstrate your resilience. It's how quickly you've bounced back from the adversity. It also really helps your team to see you taking positive action that they can see will drive change, because that then encourages them to take positive actions that also drives change rather than just panicking about what's going to happen. The second tendency that we have is to slip into doom and gloom. And it's like, not only do we seem to think that we're to blame for everything, but if one thing goes wrong, everything's going to go wrong. And we've all got ourselves into those spirals where it's like we're just in this negative spiral where everything seems to be wrong. But actually, even in times of really high adversity, when things are going really badly, there are going to be plenty of things that are going well. Spending some time looking and identifying the things that are going well can really, really help you to not think that everything is going wrong. It's really linked to proven gratitude practice, which helps. It just changes your mindset when you start to appreciate that actually there's lots of things that are going well and there's only this one thing that's going wrong. It might be a big thing, but focusing on the positives can have a really profound impact on your resilience. The third tool is around mantras. Now, some of you might be like, oh, here we go, a little bit of woo-woo, but actually bear with me that it can make a big difference, because not only do us humans like to think that as soon as one thing goes wrong, everything's going to go wrong, we also tend to attribute it with much more permanence. That if something's going wrong, it's not only that everything's going to go wrong, but everything's going to go wrong forever. Now, as soon as you step back and think about it, you know that that's objectively not true. It's a point in time. And sayings like, "this too shall pass," can be really helpful. Now, I'm sure you've all heard someone muttering that to themselves at some stage or another. Quite likely a parent in a supermarket with a toddler throwing the mother of all tantrums. It's one of those things that actually just keep reminding yourself that this will not last forever can make a massive difference. You could write it at the top of your notebook every day. You could have it on a post-it note on your screen, but somewhere which reminds you that it will not be like this forever. And that can really help to change your mindset and just bring that level of objectivity back to your thinking. So that's just a few really simple tools that you can try to use to increase your resilience. There's loads of different options out there. Try a few, see what works for you. Some things will, some things won't. But really it's about reframing things so that you can appreciate the positives more and really be more objective about how big an issue the adversity is, and then taking positive action that you can actually make a difference with, that you have control about. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Being resilient is one of the key elements of being an inspirational leader, and I talk a lot more about that in this video up here. I'll also link it at the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I've added the links to the research that I've mentioned below in case you want to dig a little bit deeper into resilience theory. But I hope you have a really fantastic week and keep on changing the world.